Trust is the foundation of all meaningful relationships, both personal and professional. Without it, connections crumble and progress stalls. Denzel Washington's powerful insights remind us that trust isn't easily given, it's earned. In this video, we'll explore the 3 types of people you should never trust, offering crucial advice on how to protect your peace and well-being. We'll dive into the deceivers, users, and manipulators who can drain your energy, and how to avoid them for a successful, peaceful life. Building on the importance of trust, let's talk about the deceivers, those who lie, even in the smallest ways. Trust is fragile, and when someone consistently lies to you, it creates a crack that's hard to repair. Imagine someone who tells you one thing but does another, or who promises something and never delivers. At first, it might seem like a harmless mistake, but over time, these lies stack up, eroding your ability to trust them. Denzel Washington's wisdom about trust reminds us that honesty is not just about telling the truth. It's about being consistent and reliable. People who lie to you, no matter how small the lie seems, are building a foundation of distrust. They may say the right things when they need something from you, but their words are empty. Eventually, this leads to emotional betrayal. I once had a close friend who would constantly make promises but never kept them. At first, I chalked it up to simple forgetfulness, but as time passed, I realized it was more than that. They would tell me they'd be there when I needed them, but when the time came, they were nowhere to be found. What hurt the most wasn't the missed promises, it was the repeated lies. I would hear the same excuses over and over again, and I couldn't help but wonder if they were ever being truthful with me at all. It wasn't just about the promises, it was the pattern of dishonesty. Each time they lied, it felt like a little piece of my trust in them chipped away. And trust, once lost, is incredibly hard to rebuild. It made me question not only my relationship with that person but also my own judgment in trusting them in the first place. Denzel's message rings true here. Lies, no matter how small, are corrosive. When you're surrounded by liars, you lose faith in your own instincts. You second-guess your decisions, and you begin to doubt others as well. Trust isn't something you should give lightly, but once it's broken, the damage can be irreversible. A single lie can unravel years of friendship or professional partnerships. So, how can you spot a deceiver? They're often very good at making you believe their lies, twisting the truth until it's almost unrecognizable. They may claim they're only trying to protect your feelings or make excuses for why they couldn't follow through. But deep down, you'll start feeling that something isn't right. Trust your gut. If it doesn't feel honest, it probably isn't. Denzel Washington teaches us to surround ourselves with people who are truthful, authentic, and reliable. Protecting yourself from the deceitful ones means not allowing them to continue taking advantage of your trust. Life is too short to be surrounded by people who wear a mask. Remember, honesty isn't just a value. It's a reflection of a person's integrity. Choose your circle wisely, and don't let the deceivers rob you of the trust and peace you deserve. The users, people who only take and never give. Following the deceivers, we now turn to another type of person you should avoid, users. These are the people who come into your life only when they need something from you, but when you need them, they vanish without a trace. Their relationships are one-sided, built on self-interest and manipulation. They don't invest in you, they only take. Denzel Washington's insight reminds us that true relationships are mutual, built on respect and reciprocity. When someone only takes from you and gives nothing in return, you are nothing more than a tool to them. I've personally encountered users in my life, and let me tell you, it's a painful experience. There was a time when I helped a colleague with their personal project, offering guidance, advice, and even resources. I poured hours of my time into supporting them, believing it was a mutual exchange. But when I needed help with a project of my own, that same colleague disappeared. No calls, no messages, just silence. It felt like being abandoned after all the energy I had put into the relationship. At first, I told myself, maybe they're busy, maybe something came up. But after repeated instances, I realized that I was just a means to an end for them. They had used my time, my knowledge, and my efforts to reach their own goals. The lack of reciprocity began to hurt. I had given so much, but in return, I received nothing. No support, no acknowledgement, not even the decency of a simple thank you. Denzel Washington's message echoes in moments like these. True friends or partners don't just take from you, they give as well. Relationships are meant to be two-way streets, and if you're the only one walking down it, you're going to get exhausted quickly. Users are skilled at making you feel like you're helping them out of the goodness of your heart, but in reality, they're taking advantage of your kindness. One of the most painful parts of dealing with users is the emotional toll it takes. You begin to question your own worth and wonder why your efforts aren't valued. You pour yourself into a relationship only to feel drained, unappreciated, and used. This erodes your self-esteem and trust in others, leading you to believe that all relationships are transactional. So, how do you spot a user? Look for patterns. They only seem to reach out when they need something, but when it's your turn to ask for help, they're nowhere to be found. They often make excuses or avoid your requests altogether. Users may also give minimal effort when you need them but expect you to go above and beyond when it's their turn. To protect yourself from being taken advantage of, set clear boundaries and don't be afraid to say no. Value yourself enough to walk away from relationships that are draining you. Remember, real friendships, partnerships, and collaborations are built on trust, support, and mutual respect. You deserve to be around people who genuinely care about you, not those who simply use you for their own gain. Choose wisely, and don't let the users steal your time and energy. The self-absorbed, people who only care about themselves building on the idea of users. There's another type of person who can be even more damaging, the self-absorbed. These individuals are so caught up in their own world that they can't see or understand the needs of others. They're consumed with their own desires, goals, and emotions, leaving little room for anyone else. They may not actively use you, but they will drain your energy, time, and patience by constantly expecting you to prioritize their needs over yours. I once had a friend who seemed so charming, always friendly and outwardly supportive, but when it came to real-life situations, their self-absorption became evident. For months, I found myself in conversations where I was simply a sounding board. Every interaction was about them, their accomplishments, their problems, and their needs. If I ever tried to talk about myself, they would quickly steer the conversation back to their own world, often with no acknowledgement of what I had shared. It was as if my thoughts and feelings didn't matter. The emotional weight of dealing with a self-absorbed person is hard to put into words. At first, I thought it was just an imbalance in our friendship, that maybe they were going through something difficult. But after repeatedly being pushed aside, I realized it wasn't about a temporary phase, it was their nature. No matter how much I tried to contribute to the relationship, no matter how much I listened or offered advice, they couldn't see beyond their own experiences. Denzel Washington's words ring true in situations like this. These self-absorbed individuals may not actively deceive or use you, but they can cause just as much harm by making you feel invisible. You start to lose yourself in the constant cycle of caring for someone who never seems to care for you in return. The relationship becomes unbalanced, and you end up feeling emotionally drained, exhausted, and undervalued. The self-absorbed person doesn't intentionally harm you, but their inability to see outside their own perspective leads to a shallow, one-sided dynamic. It's like being in a conversation where you're constantly talking to a mirror. What you say bounces off them, never truly being heard or acknowledged. This can be incredibly isolating, leaving you feeling alone in a relationship that should be fulfilling. Recognizing a self-absorbed person is key. They often talk more than they listen, have little interest in your needs, and always seem to bring the focus back to themselves. The hallmark of this behavior is a lack of empathy. If you need support, they may offer little more than a quick "sorry to hear that" before diving back into their own issues. To deal with a self-absorbed person, it's essential to set boundaries and protect your emotional well-being. Don't let their lack of empathy take over your life. It's important to remember that relationships should be based on mutual care, understanding, and respect. If someone can't see beyond their own world, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship and decide whether it's worth continuing. At the end of the day, the self-absorbed may not intentionally hurt you, but their inability to recognize your humanity and emotional needs will drain you. Surround yourself with people who care about you, listen to you, and see you for who you truly are. These are the kinds of relationships that can truly help you thrive, not the ones that revolve around someone else's ego. Fake optimists. People who mask reality with empty positivity, picking up from the self-absorbed people who only focus on their own needs. We now delve into another type of individual who may seem positive on the surface but is ultimately harmful, the fake optimists. These people seem like a breath of fresh air, always with a smile, radiating joy, and telling you everything will be fine. At first, their optimism may seem refreshing, but over time, you begin to realize that their constant positive thinking is a shield they use to mask the harsh realities of life, and worse, avoid dealing with genuine problems. I remember once working with someone who had the most infectious smile and would constantly cheer us up with phrases like, "Everything happens for a reason," or "It's all going to be okay, just think positive." She seemed like the epitome of an optimistic person. But after a while, I noticed a pattern. Whenever there was a serious issue or something that required real discussion, she would quickly brush it off with a quick, "Stay positive, you'll get through this." At first, I thought she was simply trying to offer comfort, but soon I realized that she was avoiding confronting reality. This behavior, though well-meaning, can be incredibly frustrating. It's like being in a storm and hearing someone tell you to just enjoy the rain. Sometimes, life demands more than just a cheerful attitude. It demands action, it demands facing the truth, and it demands understanding that not everything will turn out perfectly. Life is full of setbacks, challenges, and imperfections. But fake optimists refuse to acknowledge these truths. They will cover up problems with a blanket of unrealistic positivity, never allowing you to deal with the real issue at hand. There was a moment when I tried to talk to this person about a serious situation in my life. Instead of lending a listening ear or offering real advice, she simply said, "Don't worry about it, things will get better, just look at the bright side." While I appreciated her intention to lighten the mood, I felt like my emotions and concerns were completely invalidated. The fake optimism didn't make me feel better. It made me feel unheard, like my pain was something to be brushed aside rather than addressed. Denzel Washington's words echo a powerful truth about people who use fake positivity as a mask. These individuals may seem harmless at first, even inspiring, but they can hold you back by keeping you from confronting the challenges that need to be faced. Life requires authenticity, vulnerability, and sometimes a willingness to acknowledge that things are difficult. Fake optimism doesn't allow for any of this. The fake optimist's ultimate flaw is that they create an illusion of happiness and success while avoiding the real work required to solve problems. They will paint a rosy picture but offer no substance, no solutions, and no practical advice. Their advice can leave you feeling more isolated than ever, because in moments when you need real guidance, they leave you with empty words. Recognizing a fake optimist is crucial. They often use overused phrases like "everything will be okay" or "just stay positive," but they never offer actionable advice or acknowledge the real issues you're facing. To deal with fake optimists, you must set clear boundaries. Let them know that you appreciate their positivity, but you also need space to face the truth and make practical decisions. Surround yourself with people who not only uplift you but who also help you navigate through life's challenges with honesty and strength. In the end, the fake optimists can be harmful because they keep you from facing the hard truths and from doing the real work necessary for growth. Genuine optimism comes from a place of understanding, acceptance, and willingness to take action, not from ignoring reality. So, while optimism is important, it's the kind that's rooted in truth and action that will truly help you overcome life's hurdles. The energy vampires. People who drain your spirit without you realizing it. Picking up from the fake optimists who distract us from facing reality, there's another type of person who is just as dangerous but in a more subtle, insidious way, the energy vampires. These individuals may seem friendly, but every interaction with them leaves you feeling drained, exhausted, and emotionally depleted. They don't always take your money or time directly. Instead, they feast on your emotions and your mental energy. I had an experience with an energy vampire when I was working at a company. There was a colleague who always seemed to bring up negative topics or engage in gossip, draining the room's positive energy whenever she spoke. Initially, I thought she was just going through a rough patch, but it quickly became clear that every conversation with her left me feeling mentally and emotionally exhausted. It wasn't just small talk, it was always deep and draining, leaving me with The feeling that I had just spent hours being pulled into a vortex of negativity. Energy vampires are often emotionally needy, drawing from others to fill the void within themselves. They thrive on drama, conflict, or simply getting others to feel bad about themselves. Instead of uplifting or inspiring you, they tend to drag you down, usually without intending to. They thrive on your empathy, kindness, and your willingness to listen. They have a way of making their problems seem like they are the most important thing in the world. No matter what you do, they always need more attention, more time, and more support, but they rarely offer any in return. One time, I tried to offer advice to this colleague after she shared her latest personal crisis. I gave my best suggestions, tried to listen empathetically, and encouraged her to take action. But instead of feeling better, she simply dismissed my advice and continued to spiral. Every time she faced a challenge, she would cling to her victim mentality and wait for someone else to rescue her. Her pattern was draining. It became clear that she wasn't looking for solutions. She was looking for a space to unload her emotional baggage without taking any responsibility for change. And over time, this constant emotional drain started affecting my own well-being. Energy vampires, much like fake optimists, seem harmless at first. You might want to be kind and offer them support, thinking you can help them improve or heal. But over time, you begin to realize that they're not actually interested in changing. They want to remain stuck in their misery because their unhappiness feeds their need for attention. You start to question whether your help is really helping or if you're just being used as a vessel to relieve their emotional discomfort. The key to dealing with energy vampires is to establish firm boundaries. You need to recognize when your empathy is being manipulated and when you're being dragged into a cycle that doesn't benefit you. It's essential to protect your mental and emotional well-being. One way to do this is by limiting your interactions with these individuals. You don't have to cut them off completely, but you do need to manage how much of your energy you're willing to give. Set clear boundaries and be firm when they overstep. Your time and energy are precious, and allowing someone to constantly drain them will only leave you feeling empty. Energy vampires can be tough to deal with, especially because they often disguise their behavior as vulnerability or neediness. But it's crucial to remember that their inability to take responsibility for their own issues should not become your burden. When you start feeling drained or emotionally depleted, take a step back and evaluate if you've been spending too much time trying to fix someone who isn't ready to change. Life is too short to let others siphon away your energy, so protect yourself by surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you, and respect your emotional space. In the end, protecting your energy from these draining personalities is just as important as avoiding the fake optimists. We all need space to grow, thrive, and find joy, and no one should have the power to take that away from us. By recognizing the signs of energy vampires, you'll be better equipped to protect your spirit and invest in relationships that nurture you instead of draining you. The self-saboteurs, people who stand in the way of your growth building on the energy vampires who drain us emotionally. There's another type of person who can be just as destructive, self-saboteurs. These individuals, often unknowingly, play a role in holding us back from reaching our full potential. They don't necessarily attack us directly, but they bring their own insecurities and fears into our lives, causing us to question our path, our worth, and our dreams. I had a close friend who was a classic self-saboteur. He had immense potential, always talking about big ideas and plans, but every time he was on the verge of making real progress, something would hold him back. At first, I admired his ambition, but over time I started noticing a pattern. He would procrastinate, delay decisions, and often talk himself out of pursuing opportunities because he was scared of failure. It wasn't until I spent more time with him that I realized the root of it all. He was terrified of success, and even more afraid of the judgment that could come with it. One day, he opened up about his childhood, where he was constantly told he wouldn't amount to much. Those words stuck with him throughout his life, shaping his self-image. He didn't believe he deserved the success he dreamed of. Instead of seizing opportunities, he would freeze up, afraid that he'd fail or be rejected. And every time he hesitated, he'd use his fear of failure as an excuse, convincing himself that his dreams were simply too big to achieve. In his mind, it was safer to stay small, to play. It's safe, and never risk the disappointment that could come from trying and failing. The most heartbreaking part was watching someone I cared about keep sabotaging his own chances at success. He wasn't lazy or lacking in talent. He was just terrified of stepping into his own greatness. His self-doubt held him back, and it created a wall around him that he couldn't seem to break through. But no matter how much advice or support I offered, it didn't make a difference. He had to come to terms with his own limiting beliefs before he could move forward. Until he did, he was trapped in a cycle of self-sabotage. Self-saboteurs may seem like they're trying to protect themselves from failure, but in reality, they're closing themselves off from their full potential. They might tell you that they don't want to take risks or that they're waiting for the right time, but deep down, they're terrified of what might happen if they succeed. Success means stepping into the unknown, and the fear of judgment, rejection, or even just the pressure of keeping up with expectations is enough to keep them stuck. If you've ever been around someone like this, you know how draining it can be. They may start out by discouraging your own efforts, telling you how hard things will be or how others have failed before you. This negativity is infectious, and it can make you question your own abilities. If you're not careful, you may even start adopting their self-limiting beliefs as your own. The key to dealing with self-saboteurs, especially if they're close to you, is to set firm boundaries. It's essential to understand that you cannot help someone who isn't ready to help themselves. You can offer support, but ultimately, it's up to them to break free from their own mental barriers. If you find yourself being dragged into their negativity, it's okay to take a step back. Protect your own progress and surround yourself with people who inspire you to be the best version of yourself, not hold you back. Self-saboteurs can be difficult to recognize because their behavior is often disguised as caution or concern. But over time, their constant fear and negative energy can wear you down. The most important thing to remember is that your journey is yours alone, and it's up to you to create the life you want. Don't let the fears and insecurities of others prevent you from stepping into your own power. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who push you to reach higher, and who encourage you to take risks. And most importantly, believe in yourself. The only thing standing between you and your success is the courage to break free from the self-imposed limits that hold you back. In the end, the self-saboteurs are the ones who prevent us from becoming the best versions of ourselves. But by recognizing their behavior, setting boundaries, and not internalizing their fear, you can protect your own growth and continue to move forward on your path to success. Life is too short to let others stand in the way of your dreams. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, please take a moment to hit that like button. Your support means the world to us and helps us reach more people who need to hear these messages. Comment below with your thoughts or share your own experiences. Let's create a community of support and motivation. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our empowering content. We have so many more videos that will ignite your passion and fuel your journey to success. Keep growing, keep striving, and keep believing in yourself. We're here to cheer you on every step of the way.